for us to all think about how to find the right mentors for the goals and aspirations that we have. And it's also a time for us to think about how we can mentor and help to support others who are coming along with goals and aspirations, who might need support or encouragement along the way. So I'm eager for us to get started. So back to you, Annette, and thank you everyone for coming to the event today.
Thank you, Dr. Richardson. So let me introduce our first speaker to you today. So we have Dr. Nicole Huff with us. She's the Chief Compliance and Privacy Officer from St. Luke's, seasoned healthcare professional with more than 20 years of varied experience in the healthcare industry. She's focused on multiple areas ranging from healthcare compliance programs to financial accounting and analysis. So welcome, Nicole. Let me next introduce Lynn Erickson from the Da Vinci Science Center. Lynn is the Executive Director and CEO and has been since March 2013, and also from 97 to 2005, and she's also a member of the Board of Trustees. She led the creation and adoption of their major strategic plan called Greater Possibilities, and she's leading the development of a new science center in downtown Allentown and has over 30 years of experience working with the educational initiatives for students in K through college, and has raised more than 93 million from public and private sources. So just a wonderful career. Thank you for joining us, Lynn. And last, we have Ann Baum. Ann is the Lehigh Valley Market President from Capital Blue. She serves on several community boards and been recognized with numerous awards for her leadership for many years in the community. And I'm sure that there are many of you that know that Ann is also an author. And one of her selections is Small Mistakes, Big Consequences book series. So thank you, Ann, for joining us as well. So now that you've met our three speakers today, I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I'm going to ask Nicole if she would start us off with a little bit about her personal experiences with mentors.
Thank you so much. I do appreciate this opportunity, and being a mentor or even a mentee is so important as we are on whatever spectrum in our career, whether it's an early career or maybe your season. I just think it is very important. Just to give you a little backdrop about me and how I have been a mentor, not necessarily have been a mentee along my career lines, but I would have to give credit to my mother and my grandmother and my aunt for being an informal mentor for myself. Growing up in Chicago, being the first to actually graduate from college, just breaking that generational gap in our family was important. But also among those three strong women that I'm speaking of, it was never mentioned about, you have to pursue a higher education or you must do X, Y, Z. It was always those nuggets that they would drop along the way in just various conversations. And I just really appreciate my mom always saying to me, be better than me, and that doesn't mean that she wasn't good for who she was, but I understood what that meant, living in the projects on the south side of Chicago, having to raise, 5 children on public assistance. She wanted a life that was more than what we would have experienced being poor. And so, some of her other statements would be, there is no reason to compete with the next person. Always just focus on what your goals are and how you want to accomplish those goals. And so again, those statements that were made were very important. And my grandmother will always say, the grass is not always greener on the other side. So that let me know as well that someone may have what you believe is something you want for yourself, but you don't know what it took for them to actually accomplish that. So again, just make sure you're focused on um, what you want to accomplish and you're able to do that. Not to say that you don't want to have support along the way, because that is important. And I think that's where the mentoring and being a mentee is important. I also want to recognize that the introduction of the mentor mentee concept, I learned about that once I was in college, once I was introduced to American College of Healthcare Executives, and going to some of those mentoring or networking events. I would often collect cards and try to follow up with individuals to just ask questions about how did they get to where they are, how did they accomplish their next steps of progression. And those conversations were very helpful, although it was not a connection on an ongoing basis. But again, it's those meaningful conversations, even if that individual didn't know that they were inspiring me in some way. And through those conversations, also knowing, with my parents, and my grandmother and my aunt, I always said that I would be a mentor that I didn't have. So it's always good that I'm able to connect with individuals, whether they ask me a question or whether we, have individual discussions on an ongoing basis. That is meaningful to me. And I can say that it is delightful when I'm able to, get good news from a mentee, whether they're completing their doctorate degree or whether they're completing their or passed the law exam. I know that, our relationship had some impact. So with that said, I'm glad that I'm able to give back and to, be a positive role model along someone else's journey.
Thank you, Nicole, for sharing your stories with us. And I think, you've confirmed for us that mentorships or mentors come in all shapes and sizes and formality and in levels of informality, which is great because so many opportunities to have impact on people's lives. So thank you. So Lynn, how about you? Would you share your stories with us, please?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So I concur totally with Nicole. Some of my most influential mentors have actually been family members, but I'm actually choosing to share a few examples that aren't family members. So really a mentor for me is someone who's really influential in my life and helps, shape my development along the way. And I'm going to share kind of 3 examples of individuals that have been advisors and coaches. And sometimes they acted as kind of counselors and, provided a listening ear. Sometimes they were consultants and were advising me, sharing some of their business expertise. And sometimes they were cheerleaders. And that was always maybe the most helpful, I think, to all of us as women in terms of believing in me and pushing me and helping to build my confidence. And I saw something online, so I'm using those 3, that there's the 3 C's for mentorship: counselor, consultant, and cheerleader. And that resonated with the 3 examples I'm going to provide. So and some of my examples are very informal too. They're not like a structured, I was looking for a mentor and who would it be? And, let's set up this relationship. They more kind of evolve from people that I was working with or people that I knew. So the first one, and I'm going to give their names. I don't think, one of the persons has passed away. So, but I don't think that they would mind me sharing the name. So some of you may know these people. So the first person is Dr. Dorothy Blaney, who was the former president of Cedar Crest College. And in my early years at the Da Vinci Science Center, I was a young executive director and she was on the board. And we were, it was challenging getting a science center started and off the ground, and money was tight. And after board meetings, she would call up, so this is the president of a college, and she would call up and say, you're on the right track, keep on going, we're going to make it. And she was just such an important cheerleader. And often she would have some words of advice, but that was so meaningful and gave me renewed energy and commitment to pushing ahead. And I just will always remember that. So it's had an important impact. My second example is a little bit more kind of structured. Some of you may know this individual as well. And I have to say, I've lost contact a little bit with this individual. So I would like to re-establish contact. So if any of you on the phone have contact. So this was Dr. Joyce Morgan. And so she, excuse me, I'm sorry, was a supervisor. She was my boss, basically, when I worked at Northampton Community College. And this was like 85 to 95. So this is before Da Vinci Science Center. And she was the Dean of Community Education. And I was the Associate Dean at that time. And she was a very strong role model. So, but like Dorothy Blaney, I looked up to her as someone that I wanted to emulate. She knew me really well. I mean, again, I reported to her. I saw her every day. We had a lot of meetings. She provided really candid feedback and told me stuff that sometimes, was hard to hear, constructive, always very constructive. But she was always right there celebrating my accomplishments and really encouraged me to kind of go to the next level and do whatever, and I also admired her because she would do whatever it took, for her staff, for the college, for the community. And to this day, I think about her when we're tackling some kind of project and think about, how would Joyce approach this? So like Dorothy Blaney, she was a consultant sharing her expertise in a cheerleader, but she was also a really strong counselor and helped me think about my own career path. So, I was maybe like in my 30s most of the time when I was working with her. And then my third role model is the founding board chair of the Da Vinci Science Center. So this is a male. So it's good. You can have male and female role models, and there's supportive in different ways. And so this is Bob Lovett, and I'm sure many of you know Bob Lovett. So, and I've worked with him for over 20 years. And like Joyce, he continues, to this day to be a cheerleader, a consultant, and a counselor. And he was always really helpful at whatever problems might arise, or providing new insight, or helping me to think about issues from different perspectives and to think really strategically about future opportunities for the Science Center. In his case, he's someone I can call at any time. He's there, wants to talk. He's always ready to listen, always ready to lend support. And he's been an incredible, I'm almost, to tears, but he's been an incredible sounding board and advisor over a lot of, I started with him in the late 1990s. So over a lot of years. So all of these individuals help me maximize my potential and kind of think of my future direction and improve my performance. And they've been really important to me.
Great. Thank you, Lynn. And it's great to hear that you've had male mentors as well, because I think as women, we often look for female mentors, that we're probably most comfortable with. So that's a great example. Thank you. So Anne, we'd love to hear your stories next.
Well, thank you, Annette, and Lynn and Nicole, thank you so much for sharing your stories. I'm so excited to be here today for today's discussion. The topic of mentorship is one that is near and dear to my heart, and I'm really excited that we're discussing this important aspect of our careers and your life. It's really important to reach out and learn from others. No one is successful alone, and mentors play an important role in success no matter who you are, no matter what level you hold. And I found this great quote to kick us off today. This is from Denzel Washington, and I think it really captures the essence of mentorship. He said, "Show me a successful individual, and I'll show you someone who had real positive influences in his or her life. I don't care what you do for a living. If you do it well, I'm sure there was someone cheering you on or showing the way, a mentor." And I think that ties really nicely in with what Lynn and Nicole said. And a mentor is somebody who's there for you. They're somebody who encourages you. And not only do they show you the way, but they cheer you on. And personally, I've had so many great mentors, both formal and informal, and they've represented all different perspectives, different ages, genders, backgrounds. And I think it's really important to have a diversity of advisors. That broadens your outlook and helps you learn, see the world through somebody else's frame of reference. And I think that's very important. We all see the world based on our own personal experiences. And when we can see the world through somebody else's eyes, or a problem that we're trying to solve, or a future we're trying to pursue, it gives us a different perspective. And I think really is helpful in our success. Lynn looked up the 3 C's online, and I have 3 pieces that I'd like to, or 3 concepts that I'd like to share with you today as we go into our discussions. And I think there's 3 levels of relationships that help us progress in our careers. 1 is a coach, 2 is a mentor, and 3 is a sponsor. And an easy way to define each of these is this. 1, a coach talks to you, a mentor talks with you, and a sponsor talks about you. Each of these 3 roles are important as you progress in your career. And sometimes it's one person that's playing all 3 of those roles for you. And sometimes it's different people that are helping you in these different ways. But each and every one of them can make a significant difference in your career. And it's important that you take the time to listen and to learn from people in these different roles. If there's one thing that you leave here with today, it's advice on listening sincerely to anybody that you're working with, whether it's a coach, a mentor, or a sponsor. There is nothing more frustrating to somebody who's playing those roles on your behalf to have you not listen and act on the advice that's being offered. People love to be asked for their advice. They absolutely love it. But if you keep coming back to the mentor, the coach, the sponsor, and asking them the same question over and over again and not taking action and wanting them to do it for you as opposed to you listening, learning, and pursuing, you'll start to lose their support. So I encourage you all to really, when you reach out, ask for that advice, listen to the advice, pursue the advice, and you'll see some amazing results. I found another great quote by a gentleman named Bob Proctor, and he's the chairman and co-founder of the Proctor Gallagher Group. And he defines a mentor very clearly. He says, a mentor is someone who sees more talent and ability within you than you see in yourself and helps bring it out of you. So mentor is somebody who gets behind your head trash. They help you see what others see in you. And when you reach out and ask for help in this way, it's really helpful because it gets you out of your own head and sees what others see in you, the potential, the opportunity, and what you really have to offer. And I think when you take that opportunity to hear what others see, you could be quite impressed with yourself, which is okay. So as we head into our breakout sessions, remember that it's great and advisable to ask for help, ask for advice, reach out, whether it's coaching, mentorship, sponsorship, find these people and listen to the advice they have to offer. And then you decide what to do with that information and use it to your advantage. As Oprah Winfrey says, a mentor is somebody who allows you to see the hope inside yourself. Find those people, seek them out, listen to them, learn from them, and see the amazing version of you that they see. So that's my spiel on mentorship, and I'm looking forward to our breakout sessions.
And thank you so much for sharing some great perspectives and just giving us a whole nother way to look at it. And, you know, the message of listening and learning, I think, is so key, so important for all of us as we enter into mentoring relationships. So let me share my screen again. And our next step here is, so we're going to move all of our attendees into breakout rooms now. And so what will happen is everyone will go into one of 3 breakout rooms, and a speaker will be in each room. And then after somewhere between 8 and 10 minutes, we will move the speakers to another room so that everyone will have a chance to ask questions and interact and share their stories as well in the breakout rooms. At the end of the 3rd breakout room, we'll move everyone back into the main session, and there'll be time for some networking at the end and additional questions before we wrap things up. So I encourage you to use these breakout rooms as your opportunity to ask questions and learn how you can be not only a good mentor, but a good mentee as well. So with that, I'm going to ask my colleague Donna to open the rooms, and we'll start. There might be a little bit of a lag, but we'll get everybody into breakout rooms and start the conversations.
Okay, we're opening the rooms now.
We're back.
There we go.
It looks like we have everybody back. I'm guessing that you ran out of time on the breakout rooms because ones that I jumped in and out of, there was lots of great conversation happening. So we're going to have a little networking time at the end. So if you still have questions, we're going to give you another chance to ask them. But I do want to make sure that I take a moment here to thank our speakers, Nicole, Lynn, and Ann. Thank you so much for sharing your insights with us, your experiences, your personal stories. It's just invaluable for everyone, I'm sure. And I want to thank Dr. Richardson, of course, for her leadership in bringing together the LaunchBox Ladies Initiative. I also have to thank our LaunchBox Ladies Council, just an outstanding group of women who help us bring these programs together. So Catherine Bally, Rita Guthrie, Nicola Gutgold, Dakota Reineke, Tracy Damiani, and 2 of our students, Leanne George and Marilyn Reyes. A few other messages. We're going to be sending out a survey at the end of our program. And if you fill out the survey, you'll be entering into a raffle for a gift that's going to be provided by St. Luke's. One more shout out to St. Luke's, our sponsor today. And we have another message from them that I would like to share with you in thanking them for their sponsorship. So.
I'm Olympic hopeful runner Chanel Price, and I am an influencer. Be sure to get your flu shot this year. My health, my hospital, St. Luke's.
Okay.